When will we be back on the moon? Is a churro Kit Kat good? And what is my favorite card/board game? Well, I talk about all that and more on this episode of the Toddcast. Hello everyone and welcome to the Toddcast. As always, I am your host, Todd McManus. And today, as you can tell from the introduction of this episode, we're going to be talking about something that I have been enjoying and that I want to talk about. And that is, of course, the Artemis missions that are being enacted by NASA to get us back to the moon and even to Mars one day. And maybe other planets if we can hopefully have ships or anything that can withstand the heat or any pressure or gases of other planets and gravity and all that kind of stuff. So, as you may know, I'm actually going to look up Artemis 1. Artemis 1 was a mission that has already happened, apparently. It was an uncrewed mission, meaning it had no people in it, and they were going to send it to go around the moon and then come back and land either in the ocean or land somewhere just to see if the ship could withstand the heat of the re-entry, be okay in space, all that kind of stuff, you know. So this took place back in November and December of 2022, and I think it was successful, if I know, you know, because they want these Artemis missions to be basically like the new Apollo missions, like how they were, 50, 60 years ago, when we actually did get humans to the moon, which is still interesting that we had people literally on the moon way back then, and a lot of people think it's staged, but, I don't know if it was or wasn't. If it was, that would be something. If they literally faked the moon landing. But I don't know. It's very interesting to think about that kind of stuff. But my thing is that I think it's very big that this is happening. And, within the next few years, we can literally have people back on literally the next year or two. Because when did it get there? It took a while. This was like almost a month-long thing. And that was the Artemis 1. And now the Artemis 2, which is planned to launch in November 2024. So next year is when it's supposed to be launching, is the one that they announced that the 4 crew members is going to be a part of it. And they said that there is the 4 crew members, and one of them was Canadian, and this will be like the first woman and the first man of color to ever be on the moon, because as of right now it's only been like a couple of white guys, but that's a big deal, and for us to be going back to the moon in general is a big deal, and it's something that we just need to do, because we know, and y'all probably have known this statistic, and I've probably even said this, is that we, on Earth, we all know more about our solar system and space. We know more about all of that than we know about our own ocean, which is kind of frightening when you think about it, because there are so many, fish and organisms underwater, deep underwater, that we don't even know of yet. We don't know. There could be, some beast that we know, that we've talked about before, I don't think Cthulhu or anything like that is going to be real. But I'm talking like the Kraken, or not Loch Ness, but like a megalodon. That's a real thing that actually was in the past, but could there be a real one out there somewhere? We don't know. So, they're still discovering fish today, not right now, but they're still discovering fish as of today in this present time. And that is still, it's good, but you could also say it is still a little scary because of having, like, not knowing everything that is actually out there in the ocean is still like, okay, what are we doing? you know? But yeah, I'm excited about these Artemis missions. And I think that they're going to be good, and they're going to be useful, of course, to actually have, for us to get back to the moon and to Mars and all that. And, like, I'm trying to understand everything with that, and how SpaceX is involved and everything like that, you know. That's how I'm trying to figure all of that out. But I'm excited for it all, you know. I think, and like I said, Artemis 2 with the 4 crew members, they are launching in November of next year, as of right now, unless it gets pushed up or pushed back, which would be cool either way. Or it would be cooler if it got pushed up, that way it could happen sooner. But I'm definitely going to be watching, and, you know, I will probably still be doing this podcast at that point next year, so who knows, I might live stream it on YouTube by then. Who knows what's going to happen by that point next year. But yeah, I'm excited to see that actually happen, and being able to say that, like, you know, I mean, I wasn't around, I wasn't even alive or even thought of back in the 60s whenever it first happened, you know. But being able to live and see live a mission to the moon and actually see a moon landing, like, that's pretty cool, you know. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait for it to happen. And, you know, I definitely think this is going to open the door to going to Mars eventually, within, like, I think maybe the end of the 2020s or even the beginning or mid 2030s. Within the next, you know, 10 to 15 years, it's a possibility, you know, with the advancements of technology and how quickly we are advancing with technology nowadays and AI and all this kind of stuff. We will be able to send people back and forth to the moon and eventually back and forth to Mars. And we could terraform Mars. It would take probably like 100 or more years to terraform Mars completely, to make it actually look like Earth, you know, with water and oceans and lakes and ponds and rivers, as well as having full green land, you know, with it, you know. And if ever it comes to the possibility of Earth going downhill or pollution or anything like that, and the ice caps are melting and all that kind of stuff, you know, I think we'll get to the point that if that happens, then we have a backup plan. We have a backup planet, basically, that we can terraform and be able to grow a population on that planet. You know, you can send, I don't know, maybe if we were able to send just 100, but I would probably estimate like 1,000. If we could send like 1,000 people up there to Mars, and then they would reproduce, and it would take years and years, of course, because they couldn't have kids with everybody, you know. But if we were able to send 1,000 or 2,000 people up there, and they procreate and reproduce and everything, and have just a bunch of kids, and then we can have an actual population on Mars. Because as of right now, we don't know if there's any aliens, but Mars population is currently robots, because it's rovers or anything like that, you know. And I don't know if we have any satellite going around Mars, which would be a good thing if they ever did that. I think it would be a good idea. Same way with the moon, but the only problem with doing something around the moon is that if it gets, you know, closer to Earth, then will the gravity of Earth pull the satellite away from the moon and either rotate around the Earth or end up falling to Earth somewhere, you know, which wouldn't be a good thing. Unless it landed in the ocean, that'd be fine, you know, it wouldn't hurt anybody. But other than that, you know, I don't know. But overall, what I'm saying is that I'm excited for these NASA Artemis missions. I think they're good. I think what they're going to be doing is good. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. And yeah, I just am excited to see what actually is going to happen with the Artemis missions and see actually people getting to the moon and hopefully even to Mars in my lifetime. So I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see what they actually do. So with all that being said, we can go ahead and get into some questions. I've got 2 questions here, and thank y'all for these questions. And the first question I have is, what is your favorite card/board game? There's a couple. Uno always comes to mind as a classic card game. Uno is always good, It's a great, it's a great game that can ruin relationships and families and everything. That's Monopoly, though. Monopoly, on the other hand, I never have really gotten that into Monopoly. Like, if I played it with people that it could last a while and actually play a good game. Like, the last time I played a game of Monopoly was probably, 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I don't really remember playing Monopoly that much, but yeah. But there was definitely one board game that I remember liking and wanting to play more of, and that would be the game Risk. That board game is really good, and I do enjoy that game. I actually do have a different special edition of the Risk game that is Game of Thrones themed Risk, and I have played it before. It's really fun. I've played it with some friends before, and I would like to play it again. Like, bring back board game night. Like, that's an idea, that's really fun. And I do enjoy that, having just a couple of friends and people with you, and playing a board game is just fun, because you're actually seeing everything. And, board games are good for people who, aren't that too into video games or anything like that. It's a good way to actually have fun with each other and actually see what you're doing and know what you're doing as well. What other card games? There's always, like, blackjack or poker or any of the gambling games. I remember the only time that I really got into any of the kind of, like, poker games or anything like that, I remember way back on the Nintendo DS that they had a Mario game. I think it was, like, Mario Brothers or something like that. Mario Brothers DS. And they had, like, a poker game on there, which was a card game, and like it was it was like trying to get a full house or 3 of a kind or a pair and stuff like that, but it was like Mario themed cards that had like the flower or the star or whatever, and I remember playing that on the DS, and that was like multiplayer, and you could play it with other people, and I enjoyed playing that game. I thought it was pretty fun. It was a Mario-themed poker game, and that's kind of where I learned how to play poker, was with Mario. But yeah, it was really fun, and I enjoyed that. And poker and blackjack and those types of games in general, because I remember I basically learned how to play these card games through video games, because the other game that I remember playing these was the first Red Dead Redemption. I remember going to like the casino or any kind of like the saloon as John Marston, the main character that you play as, or his son eventually, I remember playing that game, and you can end up winning some good money in the game in there because it is a Western themed game. And if you go to the saloon, you can play either, I think it's called Texas Hold'em is what I'm thinking. It was either that or 5-card draw, but I think it's Texas Hold'em poker. And you play that where, they put the 5 cards, unless it is 5-card draw. I don't know. It's a poker game, and you hold the 2 cards, and you have your 2, and then they put the 5 cards out on the table, and they flip them over like after each turn. And you place your bet, you fold, you do whatever. And I ended up playing that, and if they ever do remaster Red Dead Redemption, I would definitely get it, because there have been talks with the Rockstar Games company that it's rumored that they're going to either do both or only remaster one of these. But it was Red Dead Redemption 1, the first one, or remastering Grand Theft Auto 4, which is a really good game, while they're still trying to currently develop and make Grand Theft Auto 6, which is what we're all waiting for, which is probably not going to come out until maybe, I would estimate, late next year or the beginning of 2025. But there's no, or maybe even the end of 2025. But there were like leaks of it, and they're not really going to say anything until they actually have it out, and ready. But yeah, I think that, like, and blackjack as well. Blackjack's fun. Like, if you learn how to do it, and I do it in video games, so I don't even do it in real life where I'm actually, like, gambling real money. But doing it in, like, a video game type thing, or even those, like, digital poker games that they do, that type of stuff seems kind of fun, but I don't want to, like, bet real money. So, but yeah, I've played poker in real life before, and we didn't bet any real money. We just used the chips, and just said, okay, this is worth 5, this is worth 1, this is worth, 10, 20, 100, or whatever. And it's pretty fun. Once you, like, learn the rules and learn the cards and all that kind of stuff, it's actually a pretty fun game that you can play with, and play with friends or family or whoever. Are there any other board games that I like? I mean, there's the Game of Life. I had the SpongeBob edition. That was really fun. The Guess Who and Guess Where type games, they were pretty fun back in the day. Connect 4, I guess if you could consider that a board game. I mean, it was a type of game. Clue was a big one with my family when I was young. I used to love playing Clue, like get the family over and actually play a good old board game of Clue. That was really fun, and I enjoyed that because Clue it's an interesting game and it makes you think, but it's pretty fun if you, like, understand the rules and understand how it plays. Clue is a good game. What else is there? Sorry, I do remember that. The board game Sorry was a good game, and I do remember playing that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, honestly. I mean, there's plenty of different board games and card games nowadays, but back then, those were the types of games that I liked to play, and that's what I enjoyed. So yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed Uno, poker or blackjack, but only on video games, and Risk was a big board game for me that I enjoyed. And I've only played the Game of Thrones version once, and good lord, it took like 4 hours to play that game because it's just so long, and it's definitely a game that's like, you gotta play like the video game version because it goes by quicker, but the board game version I think is more fun because you're actually in person with the people you're playing, but it's still like just so long. But yeah, the Game of Thrones version was fun, and I enjoyed all of them. But yeah, if they had like a Risk that was, they have different versions. I can honestly look them up right now, the different versions of Risk. Different versions of Risk. Let's see here. They have the Legacy, the Game of Thrones. I have that. They have StarCraft, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the Europe Godstorm. I don't even know what that is. Star Trek. I mean, they got, Metal Gear Solid. They literally have all of the Walking Dead, Mass Effect, They have many editions of the board game Risk. So, I mean, if you want a board game that you can play with different people and actually enjoy it, it's an interesting game. The Game of Thrones, you need to know how to play regular Risk before you actually learn how to play the Game of Thrones or any other special editions, because it adds so much more on top of the base game. And the base game itself can be hard to learn as it is, So yeah, that was a good question. Thank you. That took me a long time, but I had to go through all the card and board games that I thought of. So the next question we have is, have you ever been ghost hunting? That's a good question. Yes and no. No, because I've never been with like a equipment or EMF or a UV light or anything like that. But yes, I have been in an abandoned building that was thought to have ghosts in it. It was an old tore-up house. I was actually with Jaron and an unnamed friend of ours. The three of us went. This wasn't the same story that I've told on here before with Jaron, which was the one where we got pulled over when we were trying to find an abandoned building because the cop thought that we were driving out in the middle of a field to do drugs. And we were looking for an abandoned building that we thought had ghosts in it and had like a really nice, expensive car. And it was like a 2 or 3 story house, and we couldn't find it, and it was abandoned, and it might have been torn down, but there's like a legend of that in the backwoods area. But we couldn't find it, But we went to this other house. I think this was before that. We went to this other house that we actually saw. And that what you would do is just drive around during the day and find abandoned places. And then you come back at night because because apparently ghosts only come out at night, Which is something that I don't really understand why that happens. But for some reason, ghosts come out at night. I don't know why that's the thing, but it's scarier, It's the whole enigma of it, paranormal activity and stuff like that, And ghost hunting, It's not fun to ghost hunt during the day. You're not going to see anything, Ghosts only come out at night. They sleep during the day. They're like bats, They only come out at night. But yeah. We went to this place that was really run down. We had to really watch out because it was like there was walls missing of this house, and I don't even think it's there anymore. But it was falling apart. It was really dark outside. I'm talking like 11 o'clock to midnight. And we didn't see anything, and we just ended up leaving. But we went there to see what it was like. It was mainly not to see the ghosts, but to see, just an abandoned place, Because, there's abandoned buildings, abandoned schools, and all that kind of stuff all over the country. And seeing that stuff is kind of cool. And it's also, ripe for the pickings for ghost hunting and ghost hunters. But I'm not, big on ghost hunting, If I was, a full YouTuber, I've thought about it, if I actually did, have cameras or I had other people with me and to go, into this abandoned building and let's go ghost hunting just to make a video out of it, make a 20 to 30 minute video. And it would be funny, and to get scared, and, go to the Shining Hotel or different houses that are in different horror movies that are based on, or something like the Blair Witch Project or something like that, Something like that, would be interesting. Or try to find Siren Head, Try to find these types of things out there would be very interesting to see and to be a part of and to witness. But basically trying to do Phasmophobia, but that game, but in real life, But I have not actually been full out ghost hunting, but I've been in abandoned places where a ghost could be, if you believe in ghosts. So, yeah. Thank you for that question. So, with all that being said, it is now time for a little candy review. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that I talked about the candy tier list, and one of those candies that was in my S tier was a Kit Kat. And I have got actually only one different flavor of Kit Kat that is a limited edition. I didn't get a second flavor. So I'm only going to be doing a review on one item this week. And the flavor I have, and you can see a picture of it over on the Toddcast Instagram page. This is Churro Kit Kat. So let's go ahead and open it. I don't think I've ever had a churro before. Smells good. Let's go ahead and peel this off and take it. So, smells cinnamony and good. I may have had a churro before, but it's been a while. So, Churro Kit Kat. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Interesting. That's pretty good. It's got like a white chocolate to it. That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. Churro Kit Kat. That is very good. On the scale from 0 to 100, I would probably get... God, that's pretty good. I would give this an 88, honestly. No, I'll bump it up to a 90. Because this is great. I like this. Like, I did not expect to like this. I was ready for a lot of cinnamon flavor. And very sugary, you know. But overall, this is really good. I like it a lot. And it's just really good. So yeah, but Kit Kat with a 90, Kit Kat Churro with a score of 90. That's a really high score, and I'm definitely going to end up finishing all these. So I'll put that over there, save that for later. So yeah, Kit Kat Churro with a 90. I'm definitely have to try more different flavors of Kit Kat throughout the next episodes, of course. But yeah, 90 for the Kit Kat Churro. That's a really good one. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. This episode was a bit... I think that's going to do it for this episode. It was a bit shorter, of course, but different things going on. And, you know, I mean, there wasn't much to talk about anyway. So yeah, giving the Kit Kat Churro a 90, and I think that's going to do it for this episode. As always, please rate and subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to get notified when new videos are uploaded. And make sure you follow the Toddcast on Instagram for all your updates and Toddcast needs. Tell your friends and family to give a listen, and thank all of you for listening to this episode. And if you want to know what's going to happen next week, we just got to tune in to find out. Only on the Toddcast.